heroines of the mortal world, and of course, heroes, dark gods, and demons. Welcome to the Andy and Rem Show, the only place where you'll find fun, games, and Warhammer chat on the internet with your hosts, Andy and Remington. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on a Tuesday night. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home delight. We're talking about Age of Sigmar and everything else that is cool. We're talking about a Warhammer fantasy. It's easy to learn the rules. I said it's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on a Tuesday night.
You went for a few outside of your normal range notes there, didn't you, Mr. Remington?
I thought
shaking things up a bit on our 91st episode. We're getting pretty old now.
91. However, did we get this far without becoming power gamers?
Well, you say that, but I think you may actually be secretly a power gamer underneath this facade that you present to the world, where you're just friendly and rolling ones all the time. Inside is actually ticking the mind of a tactical genius, I think. And you're just plotting to unleash that upon the world. As soon as you get a spare couple of weeks, you're just going to turn up to a tournament and just completely ruffle stomp everybody.
I don't know. I'm too much of a fan of squig hoppers, snotlings, and halflings for that ever to happen, Andy.
Are you a fan of squig gobbers, though?
Yes, if we can rewrite the rules to them.
Which, of course, you can. You're free to rewrite the rules to any war game as you see fit. Right, shall we see who's in the chat tonight? Because this is a packed show. Not only do we have all the usual shenanigans and Age of Sigmar developments, we've also got all the Golden Weasel Awards to present as well. So let's see who's in there. We've got the likes of Bazooka J. Rambo, Charlie Banks, Dice Miniature Paint Guy, Edwin Desvart, Gloomready Gaming, Jones Yarny, Lawrence Jameson, Mickey Jenver, Stu Rat, Newbie, and I'm sure I spotted a couple of other people in there earlier who just haven't commented in the last few minutes to appear in there. So we're not going to be able to have too much shenanigans going on today. So should we just dive straight in there? Because we've got plenty to sink our fangs into.
Yeah.
First of all, as tradition dictates, let's start off by looking at the new releases section on the Age of Sigmar section in the Games Workshop website. And as you can see, not much to look at here at all. Now, I've had confirmation that the mat that comes in this thing is just paper, by the way, since it doesn't really tell you in the item description. But it's paper, and it's got 2 giant folds in it, apparently, or multiple giant folds. And you can actually see there, if you look closely, a bit of a line along there. So, in my opinion, that slightly devalues the product.
Well, you know, it's a whole bundle of fun there. You can't have it all in marble and gold, can you?
You certainly can't. Well, on this show you can, but from most gaming companies you cannot.
But, you know, well, there was a time, Andy, when we used to spend this part of the show looking at rumours about what's to come, and it seems like Games Workshop has kind of beat everyone to it finally, and previewing their stuff to beat the whatchamacallits, the people that leak stuff all the time.
The news or rumour hounds out there, of which we were shamelessly part of that community, jumping on things a few weeks before they were actually released. But GW are the main ones now spilling all the rumours. So nothing new really that's particularly juicy on here, and no pre-orders yet. However, they did give us a couple of tasty snippets of things to come over the last couple of weeks. So first of all, the General's Handbook 2. This time it's even more competitive because they've taken out part of it, and now it's going to be filled with even more competitive goodness.
It's funny, isn't it? A lot of the old competitor 8th edition guys are coming out of the woodwork again, and you know they're right bang into this now.
Shall we see what they're saying about this upcoming General's Handbook 2017, as it's called, the very original title it's got there. So the original one, of course, introduced the 3 ways to play. However, this book is going to be slightly different, although it is going to give us ways of playing multiplayer wars, so not just one-on-one. So that's looking interesting. And it doesn't look quite the same without your head kind of obscuring half the title, does it?
That's an improvement on your version, that's for sure.
And look at all that terrain. How much would you have to spend to create that table? There's a question. Anyone who's watching this later on, pause it and work out the price of everything in this picture here. And then let us know if you wanted to recreate that image exactly. Not even including paints. Let's just assume you already have all the paints.
Probably a second car, I'd say.
So it'll be an invaluable resource. Well, I'm sure it will. The last one certainly was, with all the point values in it. Open play multiplayer rules, massively expanded apparently, including devious rules for mid-game betrayals. Now, do you remember Triumph and Treachery in 8th edition, where you'd have all these different bizarre rules that weren't part of the usual game, just to mix things up and make 3-way or even more games even crazier?
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun, especially if you're ogres. Because they're always double dealing, aren't they?
Any particular reason that ogres will have more fun than anyone else?
Well, just in the lore, really. I think that in the lore, they're always like teaming up with the dwarves only to sort of backstab them at the moment of glory and side with the gobos who have probably promised them some, you know, dwarf meat as well as the gold hoard.
Well, let's keep going. Match play is set to get plenty of updates. Of course it would. So these new battle plans, new rules of 1. New rules of 1. Well, we've been used to the 3 rules of 1, haven't we? So additional rules of 1. What else are they going to prevent you doing or taking multiple times? That's the question.
I think they've probably listened to Queen's It's a Kind of Magic album and the song One Vision.
You think that's it?
Yes. One golden glance of what could be. One flash of light that shows the way. No mortal man can win this day.
Okay then. So, anyone in the chat, let us know which new rule of 1 you would like to see come into Age of Sigmar. So previously, of course, you've got the limits on the amount of the same spell you can cast, 1s always fail, and so on. Any new rules of 1 that you would like to see come into the game, put them in there. Oh, Jones-Yarny says every time you roll a 1, you have to shout Remington. However, that's not really correct, because usually the roll of 1 happens because you just shouted Remington, so you don't need to shout it afterwards.
I think GW have realised how popular 1s have become since it's become like the Remington catchphrase, and they've even incorporated into their core rules 1s.
Well, maybe that's why they put the symbol on the 1s on their dice.
I like that. I like that picture there. Can we get any of that scenery?
Well, they don't usually show us anything that isn't available. So does this mean we're going to be able to buy this thing and this rather bizarre skull wall soon?
Yeah, the skull wall is pretty cool.
But I would assume so, because it does say they are adding siege rules. However, one point against this, I would say, it seems to have a realm gate attached to it. So it's either built so that you can put together all the different pieces of terrain, or they've just made that from scratch and you can't actually buy it. Or maybe that's a completely different realm gate that they've just tacked in there into this new skull wall.
It's weird because skulls are a very like complex mold. I think you could like get, imagine that, but with a goblin's face or like a human's face or a dwarf's face, like, you know, like in America where they got those 4 or 5 presidents on the wall. What they're called, you know?
Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, Mount Rushmore. They could have that. That would be a great bit of scenery, wouldn't it? Like a Mount Rushmore of the former empire with like, you know what I mean? Like heroes like, you know, Karl Franz and Todbringer, but they're kind of like half decrepit and old, like relics. Or dwarf.
Easy Lebowski says the skull wall looks too aquarium-esque. You think it's a bit silly and a bit of an underwater kingdom for you goldfish rather than the gaming table?
I don't know. Someone just said, imagine that with Remington's face. that would be very expensive.
Imagine this with the Khorne Blood Fortress, or whatever it's called, on top of it. So you've got giant skulls with tiny skulls on top.
Imagine it with your face, Andy, and your flowing locks.
That would have to be some kind of majestic statue rather than just crammed into a wall, I'm afraid.
It'd have to be painted white, bleached white.
Rob Lloyd Sweet has got a suggestion for a rule of one. Only one of each arcane item. So yeah, I think that's fair enough. The items that the various characters can have. I think that's reasonable. Only one of each of those, because otherwise you are just going to get multiples of the same character with the same thing. As you see with the ultimate cheese lists, particularly for the likes of the Caradron Overlords, who of course have items already. A lot of the armies don't have too many things to choose from yet. Until this next book, which will apparently add things for all the different armies. Look, new allegiance abilities. Bum, 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 bum. So it'll cover allegiance abilities for the likes of the Fire Slayers. So anyone who thought maybe they would hold off on buying a Fire Slayers book because they're bound to get a new one because it doesn't have allegiance abilities and all that kind of stuff in there, maybe their fears can be somewhat allayed there. The book is going to be seriously awesome. Well, that's not really unbiased reporting, is it? Just saying that it's going to be awesome.
Is there any terrain and stuff that you missed that you can't get anymore?
I don't think so. I think all the current terrain is probably the best they've ever done.
Yeah. What about models?
Models, there are of course plenty of discontinued models that were amazing for a variety of reasons, but I think everyone will always have a soft spot for the old clown Nagash.
Oh, come on. Oh, cool. I mean, look, I was looking, there's one model which I would want out of all the others now, and it got discontinued in 2014, and it's Forge World, the Marienburg Landship, and it's friggin' awesome. I mean, I probably didn't think of buying it before because it was probably cost a lot of money, but I'm so tempted now, but you just can't get it anymore. And I was reading why, and the designer of it no longer works at Games Workshop, and there's a sort of a defect in the mold or something. But that is a truly awesome model, which would be the crowning glory of my devoted of Sigmar army, but sadly, I don't know. So, yeah, that's a sad loss.
By the way, the chat is thoroughly filling up, and one name I'm going to point out right now, Amy Snuggs, who is apparently going to be on Warhammer TV playing a game of Age of Sigmar tomorrow.
That'd be awesome. Amy, we're expecting an Andy and Rem shout-out.
If she even gets to talk. They might just usher them in and just have the commentators hogging all the spotlight and never actually interview them.
Well, here's a way. Why not, when you roll the dice, shout Remington?
That is a way of sneaking in the word Remington into a live Warhammer TV stream. If people just shout Remington every time they roll the dice, especially if it's 2 dice.
That'd be so funny, man, if you could do that. They'd be like, what's going on? Who are they talking about?
I don't think they would. I think they know exactly who we are. You know they watch this show because they steal all your $1 million ideas and turn them into products within weeks.
Oh, not if
you mention it, and it's already on a conveyor belt the next day for the prototype.
Not if I go on strike and they have to get their ideas from somewhere else, but they won't be as good.
Also, we haven't put out that range of Andy and Rem T-shirts yet, have we? Because we can have someone wearing those to Warhammer World.
Yeah, that would be cool. Or even better, we could print a few of them out and sneak them in their shop and put them on the racks. How about that? For sabotage tactics.
We could do, but that would cost us money. And then someone would undoubtedly spot them straight away and think, wait a minute, I don't think we stock that item. Now, I've got something ready on the screen to show you now. The one thing that excites Mr. Remington more than anything else in this world, more than music, more than meeting the musical icons of past generations, is, of course, the idea of a brand new Stormcast Eternals release. And GW have teased us with this image. This is eerily similar to various armor plates on Dracoth riders, for example. I believe it's on the front of Vander's Hammerhand. He has a very, very similar looking icon to this.
Is this a theory that it's Stormcast, or do you know that it's Stormcast?
Well, I don't think it's actually been confirmed that it's Stormcast, but it seems pretty obvious because it is the exact face that appears on the Stormcast armor. The only difference is it seems to have this strange lightning bolt kind of underneath it. It's kind of a lightning anvil almost, I would say.
Well,
but the rest of it is completely identical to the Stormcast iconography.
On the Warhammer Weekly, they were thinking it's more like elfy, high elfy.
I don't know. I'm going to strongly disagree with that because I went into Photoshop when part of this image was released and laid over it the image of the Stormcast piece, and all the lines line up perfectly. Like they've just, in their 3D design program, they've just taken the same big cat face element and just transplanted it onto a new model.
Yeah, so, Stu Rat says Spider Fang, but I think with that nose, it definitely looks more liony. Maybe he could be Goblin. I can see what you're saying there, but then what about the anvil that he's buying into? You know what I mean?
Rob Lloyd Sweets with an interesting comment here. Aren't they two 40k eagle heads? That's a case that could be made, but how would they explain using an identical face to that which appears on the Stormcast Eternals? I don't think so. I think it's something for the Stormcast, but what could it be? I mean, if they're going to have siege rules, then maybe it's a Stormcast Eternals war engine.
Well, yeah. What, like a if they've got war engine, what do you imagine it is? Like some kind of cannon?
I think, well, they've already got a guy carrying around a giant crossbow, so maybe it's just an even bigger crossbow, like a giant ballista. Filled with celestial energy, of course.
Yeah. I don't know. I always like the comedy stuff. You know, live creatures getting shot out of siege weapons. Much more fun.
Ryan Taylor says new chamber. Yes, they are opening up new Stormcast chambers all the time, and there are some of them that still haven't been opened up within the current book. And I wouldn't be too pleased if it is an entire new section of the Stormcast, because I only recently bought all the other Stormcast Eternal stuff, the book, the War Scrolls and whatnot. So if they do add anything else, it's unlikely I would add it to my army, because they would probably have its own book, wouldn't they?
Yeah. What about a flagellant battering ram?
A flagellant battering ram. Wasn't that your nickname at school? Anyway, I think we can get off that for a minute. Oh. And shortly we're going to be going into some Golden Weasel Awards, by the way, because of course this is the Golden Weasel Awards special, and there are some quite shocking results.
What's the Golden Weasel, Andy?
Well, the Golden Weasel Awards are painting awards designed to allow miniatures that perhaps weren't suitable for entry into other painting competitions to earn prizes with a set of unique categories. For example, some of them this year we had Best Blood Effect, Best Hat, Best Skull, and so on. And there will be prizes. We haven't actually sorted out all of the prizes yet, but there's 6 categories, I think, so that's going to be 6 prizes and the trophy for the person that wins the most Golden Weasel Awards, or in the case of a tie, whoever received the most votes from the illustrious Golden Weasel Award voting panel, which I assembled over the last couple of weeks, and they all cast their votes over the last few days. So it was long deliberations were had.
Is that just me and you?
It is not. Oh. There are other judges, but I don't want to name them in case it causes any community outrage towards them if somebody's particular model didn't win.
Well, good luck to all. If you live in America or Australia, then I won't be sending you a prize, but Andy will. Because I did that last year, and it cost me a lot of wonga.
I'm pretty sure you provided about half the prizes last year. It just so happened that one of the ones that you put up ended up being sent to Australia, which is unfortunate. So I wouldn't be surprised if this year Mr. Remington actually went on the profile of everyone that entered the competition and said, okay, they're from Australia, I'm not voting for them, just to try and engineer a cheaper postal solution.
Well, look, if anyone wins from anywhere in the universe, you're guaranteed my approval and thumbs up. How's that?
And a prize of some description. Or maybe his ploy is to just allow every single prize to be won by the same person, so we only have to send out one parcel.
That's a good idea. Good idea. Yeah.
Is it $1 million idea, though? $1 million saving idea, potentially? Rather than posting out these prices all the way around the globe in different packages, just send out one.
I could record private messages for them.
I'm not sure that would be considered a prize.
That depends on the content.
It depends if they have a restraining order out against you. Mickey Jennifer says, was it a distinguished panel? Yes, it was. It was highly distinguished, actually. And just so you know, some of the thought process that went into selecting the panel, they were some of the finest painters in the community. So that might be a little bit of a clue as to who some of them were. Let's see. There's people talking about rapid insertions in the chat. So I think things may have gone slightly off topic. Maybe that's been inspired by some Americans who are perhaps quite inebriated by this time because it's a big day of celebration over there, of course.
So talking out the categories, Andy, on this thing, it's not your usual best diorama, best model, best model that is, everyone else paints. It's like specific things, isn't it? Like best skull, best glow effect, best freehand banner.
Well, shall we start looking at them now? We could do a couple of the awards now and then continue chatting about Stormcast Eternals, and then we can do a couple more. So, first up, let's have the Best Skull Award. Now, Mr. Rem, do you have a little jingle, perhaps, for the Golden Weasel Award for the Best Skull?
What, do I have to do one for every category?
I think that would be best.
Jesus. Okay, what rhymes with skull? Dull?
Bull. Pull.
Bull?
Dull.
Kroll?
You don't have to rhyme the word skull. You could put skull in the middle of the sentence.
Okay, well, give it a shot. I'll give it a shot. I remember in the 80s there was a film called Kroll. It was pretty cool. It had lots of skulls. Then Andy decided to make a competition. The Golden Weasel would bring back the skull and not make painting dull.
Well, there you go. Nothing's more exciting than a skull, and I think that song encapsulates everything we love about skulls. So, first of all, let's see who was the runner-up in the Best Skull category. The runner-up was Dino, with this skull, which is attached to an entire skeleton, but of course we were mainly judging the skull. Now, this is a very nicely painted miniature, all round.
I love it. Love the colours. I love the skull, especially because it's one of the old school skellies, and it looks like he's sort of split the skull in half there. It's been like hacked with an axe, but he's still, I was going to say breathing, but he's still animated.
Whenever I had this particular skull in the old skeleton box set, I always wondered whether that was supposed to be an eyeball in there. Because there was no other flesh at all on the skeletons, so I thought that would be a bit weird if the eyeball is the only thing surviving. Surely that would be the first part that the birds eat. So I always wondered exactly what that was, and maybe someone just dropped a glass eye in there.
A glass eye, yeah. He would look great with a fake leg, wouldn't he? Like a pirate leg. I don't know. To me, he looks a little bit piratey, doesn't he?
Thinking about starting a skeleton pirate army now.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I just need that landscape.
Shall we reveal the winner for the Best Skull Award?
Go on then.
The winner is Skeleton Flower.
Wow.
I notice that some people get their real names on here, and some people get other names, either because that's the name they use on Facebook, or because I just want to give them a bit of free advertising for their YouTube channel, as is the case here for Mr. Skeleton Flower. So look at this. Quite a wonderful skull.
Now, with Skeleton Flower's work, you really have to zoom in and see all the strokes. They're like fine, just like his hair.
Look at that. Speaking of hair, when you zoom in this far, you can see a tiny little hair sticking up on the miniature there. We should have marked him down for that. You do notice that, though, whenever someone posts pictures of miniatures that are really, really zoomed in, and you just notice a tiny stray hair that can't be seen with the naked eye, but the camera picks up these things. But yes, with his work, you can see there's so much time that's gone into every tiny element of it. It's like every little tiny piece of it is like a canvas painting because of the amount of strokes that have gone into it.
Yeah, there's so many layers there, isn't there? So many washes and base coats and whatnot. He just creates his own little world, doesn't he? With his painting. Like
He
that.
certainly does. So there will be a prize heading to Mr. Skeleton Flower. So there's at least one prize heading out of the UK already. So I can just feel my wallet straining now. Okay, let's do the next one. Do you have a song for the Golden Weasel 2017 Best Blood Effect? Surely you do. Surely you can come up with a song about blood.
Okay. A lot of people paint their bases with mud, but that's pretty dull because I like painting my bases with mud. Blood. I mean blood.
I feel like you've soiled this award, Mr. Remington. You're not going to be asked to perform live at any major events with that kind of.
Not many things rhyme with skull, and not many things rhyme with blood.
Lots of things rhyme with blood. Good, bud, scud, missile, flood, wood, could, spud.
You said flood, didn't you?
Yep.
Good. Flood and blood, both watery. That could work.
Jonesy says needs more A minor.
Possibly, but the theme tune's in A minor as well. So I was trying to make it different. See, all these things are happening in a matter of milliseconds, my friend. It's not as easy. In hindsight, it's very, it's all right after, isn't it?
Mickey Genver quite cheekily says, maybe don't quit teaching just yet. The Remington sigh was let out then. I'm not sure if it was picked up by his microphone, though. Okay, let's see who was the runner-up in the Best Blood Effects category. Ba-ba-ba-bum! It was Sam Jones with this blood. It's basically a timepiece, effectively, isn't it? But it's using blood.
Wow. That's really close up.
It is. It's only a tiny piece of the miniature. So when you consider that, that is very, very nice. And it's an alternative use of blood. You don't normally see someone paint the inside of a bottle like that.
No, speaking of Kroll and blood and this miniature, they've all got something in common because there's a hero in the film that has to carry one of these time things. And when the sand runs out, then he dies.
Well, in this case, it's blood within the hourglass. So I wonder if that means he's only got an hour for the battle. And it looks like he's about halfway through there, doesn't it? With the level of blood. Very, very nice indeed. But, of course, that's only the runner-ups. That means there is one more that was voted superior and the ultimate blood effect, at least, that was entered into the competition. Shall we see who wins the Best Blood Effect category?
I like the hourglass. They should do that in competitions. Like, it's your turn, and you've got to do it all before the sands run out.
Maybe we'll introduce that.
Just another $1 million idea. Anyway.
We'll see if you've got a $1 million idea for the winner of the Best Blood Effect category. And here it is. Age of Padsmar, which I'm going to assume is not their real name, funnily enough. But look at that. It is clearly some kind of orc or ogre. Can't really tell from the back, but it looks quite green, doesn't it? So it's probably an orc.
That's Scrag. Scrag the Slaughterer.
Uh-huh. Well, dragging a giant pot and look at the blood spilling over it into the sand. Very, very shiny. Very, very nice. Nice in the paint quality sense, not nice in the I would like it if this were real and it was being dragged next to my house. I'm not sure I would particularly enjoy the stench or the sight of all those blood and guts in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, do you know, like in the olden days, they used to have a guy that used to go around the streets and shouting any old iron. And like you come out your house and like put old kettles or old bits of piping and you just take them off you. And then
now, you say the olden days. I've heard people saying very similar things to that within the last 3 years around here.
Well, all right, then. In the fantasy olden days, Scrag used to like scrape around and drag that thing around, and I don't know. Was he
Any spare organs?
Yeah, any spare limbs?
Yeah, if you just happen to lose a limb, normally you'd struggle to get rid of it, wouldn't you? You'd think, well, what can I do with this leg that was just removed in a freak farming accident? Well, I know. There's that door-to-door big pot of limbs and flesh and blood and guts that's carried around. I'll just wait for him to come by. So you just leave it by the front door a couple of weeks. You hear him come past. Oh, there, I've got this limb. A freak farming accident. Here you go. Just splodge it in there. See, we've got a nice little narrative going for it now as well, haven't we?
Put another one on the other side. Maybe some witch elves dragging it from the other side. It could be like a tug of blood.
A tug of blood. There is a board game. Forget Witch Coven. Tug of blood.
Wow.
Tug of blood. It's either a board game or something you should probably see the doctor regarding. So well done, Age of Padsmart. So let's do one more. Let's do half of them right now. So, Mr. Rem, do you have a song prepared for Best Freehand Banner?
I'm struggling with rhyming words here.
It's really pushing you to the limit here.
Okay.
Why not just start the line with freehand banner and then rhyme around it?
Freehand banner. Let's try a different kind of chord, shall we? There we go. That should please you nerds out there. Here we go. Why don't they make shows that star David Banner? He played the Hulk. Nowadays we have to appease ourselves with a freehand painted banner.
Is that it?
Almost rhymes with hammer. I couldn't quite get that in.
Okay, well, I suppose that'll do.
Jammer. Too late.
Now, I didn't expect anyone to actually paint a banner as large as the one depicted here. This guy. But you get the idea. Okay, shall we see who was the illustrious runner-up in the freehand banner category of the Golden Weasel Awards? It was... Bum bum bum. Edwin de Zwart. I'm going to assume I'm pronouncing that correctly, by the way. So, what do we think about this? Clearly, a very nice moon with teeth. And I'm going to say, if I even attempted to paint that, it would look horrendous.
I love that because it looks like it's a bit of bark off a tree with that colour. That's great.
It does a bit, actually, doesn't it? Very, very interesting, just colour on the banner in general, but this piece, obviously, very, very nice. I mean, painting all that with a paintbrush must be a nightmare. So I'm going to assume that these entrants into the best freehand banner category all made use extensively of the new set of Remington paint pens. Do we think that's likely?
What, is that a prize, is it?
It's, well, it could be if you can prove that they actually exist and then send some out to somebody.
Is that the winner then? That's brilliant.
This is the runner-up.
Oh, well, there's more.
There's more. And here we go. The winner of the best freehand banner category is last year's champion, Mickey Genver.
Wow. X-rated fluff right there.
It's rated. I don't know if it's completely X, but it is certainly rated.
Well, it's definitely X, because like the one on the left is like one of them photographs that you rip up where you look good, but your ex-partner doesn't. So you kind of like rip it up, don't you?
So you rip it in half to take the other person out of it. Is this something you've had to do a lot in your time? all round Chateau de Remington, there's just ripped in half pictures with just you, and then a mysterious arm round you, where the other person's been removed.
Try not to leave any evidence behind. That's me. But look at the one on the right.
Well, a very, very, very worthy winner with the paint quality there.
Wow.
Quite magnificently done. So last year's champion gets another prize. But will she get this year's trophy? We've got 3 more categories to go, which we're not going to look at right now. So far, we have the 3 winners so far. Mr. Skeleton, we have Age of Padmar, and Mickey Genver with 1 category win each. So they're all in the running at the moment to win the grand prize, which is about a 15-foot-high golden weasel statue. I may be exaggerating the size of it. If you want to see the actual size, there's a picture of Mickey Genver posing with it somewhere on the Facebook group. So let's stop that screen share for a minute. And let's see what everyone's saying in the chat about all this. So people seem to be very impressed with all the paintwork there. Rob Lloyd, sweet. It's impressed by the light and the shadow on Mickey's work. Amy Snuggs is also a big fan of it. Demon_lizard_from_outer_space is just smiling at it. Okay, let's see. People were throwing in all kinds of suggestions for things you could have rhymed with banner. Let's see. Spanner, day planner, hammer, manner, jammer. So if you've been looking at the chat, perhaps you could have made that song a little more impressive.
Yes, looking at the chat and writing a song and playing the guitar and looking at the screen all at the same time, Andy.
And the multiple hours of show preparation that you put in as well. Would you like to talk a bit about that?
But spontaneity makes the show what it is, Andy.
It's one of the many things that makes the show what it is. In addition to just the endless stream of charisma that just flows out of the screen.
Absolutely.
That's what we bring to the table. Other than you rolling ones a lot, that's generally what you bring to the table.
So the questions are being asked in the chat. Amy Snuggs, how did you get on Warhammer TV? Well, frankly, that's probably through her association with this show, because we make stars of people, frankly.
We do. We take people that would previously only be like kind of D-list downwards, and we elevate them up multiple levels with each appearance on this show. And there were people out there that fell for the April Fool's gag that we had this year, which was that Mr. Remington Steele had been headhunted by Warhammer TV to front their live Warhammer coverage in the future, and that he was no longer able to do this show. And a few people did believe that, despite the fact that it was the 1st of April at the time.
Yes, I think that's the excuse you're going to use when you turned up to Warhammer World and no one came apart from you.
Well, we didn't announce that we were going to be there, did we?
We thought it was going to be another April Fool's joke.
That wonderful picture of me and the A-list reception where they very politely escorted everyone out of the building so that we could have it to ourselves without autograph hunters. Which was nice of them, wasn't it? It was a nice touch. Let's see. Any interesting comments in here? Adam J. Smith says, keep the weasels flowing. Well, we have to take a little break between the Golden Weasel Awards. We have to build suspense. So, Mr. Rem, let's pick your brains for a minute for $1 million ideas. Stormcast releases.
Yeah.
If it's going to be a Stormcast war engine of some kind, would you rather it was a projectile engine or a close combat engine?
One that blows up and damages Stormcast users.
So you want to actually hinder the Stormcast with a new unit that blows up while in the midst of their lines.
Yes, and they must take it in every army, otherwise their Sigmar armors won't work. About that.
Well, okay then.
Because you can't give them any better saving throws or any stats because they're already really good.
Maybe like their version of a war altar that just drives along next to all their troops and just gives them re-rolls on all their saves instead.
What, they're 3-up saves?
Yeah. How about double re-rolls?
Do you know, they're not actually all that good, are they? They don't win all the tournaments at all, do they? Stormcast.
They don't.
They don't. I think GW want them to, but they're just not happening.
Well, maybe they'll just keep releasing more stuff until they just win endlessly.
Because that's their narrative is that the sort of Sigmar turns the tide of the war against chaos, right? But in reality, on the actual gaming tables, that's not happening.
We have a question from the audience. Retropia TV, what do you guys think of the new AoS coloured plastics? That gold plastic seems suspect. Suspect in what way would be my question. You think it maybe won't hold paint as well as it would do before, or you just don't think it looks very good as standard?
The story behind that, Andy, was that their initial run was orange coloured plastic, and then they unfortunately realised that was Andy's sort of signature colour, so they desperately thought, well, we've got to change it to gold.
Well, what I heard was that it was originally going to be orange, but the demand was so high, because I've just pushed the colour orange into the stratosphere as far as demand goes, that they couldn't possibly keep up with it, so they were forced to change it. Otherwise, Warhammer HQ is just going to be overturned and set on fire by all the rampaging customers that couldn't get their hands on it because they couldn't make it fast enough. So they had to artificially lower demand by moving it from orange into gold, is what I heard.
Now the orange figures have become like limited edition, aren't they? Like highly sought after.
Well,
like
anything orange nowadays, since I burst onto the YouTube scene, anything orange is highly sought after. Apart from the Citadel orange paint. Let's see, which one is it? Have I even got one here? Whichever one it is, it's terrible though.
It dries up all the time. Squig orange, red.
So the only orange one I would recommend from Citadel would be Riser Rust, because it's supposed to be dried up. There you go.
I ain't figured out how to use those dry things really. I don't get it. You kind of have to just. I don't get how to use them.
Well, this one is for dry brushing over some kind of texture, so you can make it look nice and rusty.
Oh.
It's not the same as all of the other dry paints, as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
It might be. I haven't actually tried any of the others. Because if you want dry paints from Games Workshop, you just buy one of their paints that isn't supposed to be dry, and then just stare at it for a couple of weeks, and then it's perfect. That's if it doesn't come out in one big solid chunk that you can't even dry brush with, which has occasionally happened. It's so weird, though, that the old ones are still fine. The old paints like this one, for example, still perfectly liquid, despite being older than some people in the chat.
That's incredible.
There's quite a few of those going around there as well. Okay, let's see. Retropia TV, coloured plastics tend to be brittle. I collect Malifaux's coloured plastics, and they are a very different composition. Rob Lloyd Sweet says gold plastic, historically dry, brittle. I wonder if it contains any real gold. I would suggest no. But you never know. Maybe that would be a treat, wouldn't it? They could release a range of gold miniatures, and one of them is actually made from real gold. And if you win that one, then they make a statue of you outside Warhammer World alongside the Stormcast.
Looking very heroic.
Yes. Next to the statue of me that they're going to add at some point. I've been promised that is going to happen somewhere down the line. They don't want a statue of Remington out there, because Remington, just the name, is synonymous with defeat, unfortunately.
I think you need to look at our stats again, Anthony. I believe that I'm probably winning on the game stakes.
I don't know about that. I'd have to go back and check the records, but I think that's probably a lie. Any statisticians out there among you can probably look into that and confirm that I am correct. Velatron says Orange Troll Slayer. Yes, that is a terrible one for drying up. And it's not even the fact that paint gets stuck in it and then the lid doesn't close properly. Even without that, it just dries up on its own for some unknown reason. I don't know what it is about orange, something to do with the particular pigmentation and chemical makeup of it somehow makes that dry up faster than other paints. Because there's a few in the newer pots that don't dry up as fast as that. I've got a couple of purples that are still perfectly usable after a few years, yet oranges and I think browns might be a bit suspect as well. They dry up a bit quick. Right, shall we go for the next 3 awards then?
Go on then.
Okay, have you got your instrument handy?
Yeah.
Because this category is the best spirit animal. And people were able to submit a spirit animal for either you, Mr. Remington, or me.
Keep talking. I'm just working it out.
And there were quite a few entries, because it's obviously a bit of a vague topic. If you can think of any connection between one of us and an animal, and then you've painted that animal, then obviously there you go, that qualifies as a potential spirit animal. And people were actually fairly polite with them as well, because there is potential to be a bit cruel with the entries in this category, but people didn't go there. I think we've got a very friendly audience. It has your musical brain.
Yeah, okay. If I had an Andy, I'd paint him in the morning, paint over him in the evening, all over this land. If I had a Remington, I'd admire him in the morning, I'd admire him in the evening, I'd admire him in my hand, all over this land.
Interesting choice of lyrics. Okay, shall we see who achieved the lofty position of runner-up in the Andy or Rem's spirit animal category? Here we go. The runner-up was skeleton flower. And this is apparently your spirit animal, I think.
That's amazing. What is it? It's a troll, isn't it? It's like the Troll King.
Now, on the Facebook group, he did actually go into some reasons that this could potentially be your spirit animal, but I'm not sure all of them are suitable for broadcast. So anyone who wants to go on over to the Facebook group and look at the entries for this category, you'll see exactly why he was chosen as Rem's spirit animal.
Trolls are like dirty old men that live under bridges and mug people and like.
Well, it's not too far off, is it, to be fair?
Well, I don't.
He's got certain elements of it nailed down, I would say.
I don't have nails that big, because if I did, then I'd play the guitar better, but I've got split nails, so that's why.
Well, maybe that's what it represents. It doesn't have to actually look like you. It's just your spirit animal. So your spirit animal would be something that has really long nails, so it could play the animal instruments more easily. There you go.
Yeah.
And look at his dirty thumb there. That is just unacceptable. Okay, the winner of the category. Here we go. This is also your spirit animal, and this is from Dino.
Looking at all the entrants, the ones that were trying to do Remington's spirit animal were far more interesting and original than the ones, unfortunately, that attempted to do Andy, because the Andy ones all ended up being like I don't know, like spirits, you know, like spirit hosts, where it's all like white and ghostly green.
Well, most of my spirit animals are surely far too majestic to be captured in miniature form and then painted to any kind of degree that would match up to reality. I think that was the reason. Rem's spirit animal is something kind of more down to earth and dirty that you can just do a quick dry brush on. Well, but obviously this is very nice. I mean, look at the eyes. And it does kind of scream Remington at you, doesn't it?
What is it, like a turd with a tail on it?
Something like that. And a helmet.
I don't know what it is, but I like it a lot.
Okay, so there is the winner.
Brilliant. What a character. What would you call him?
Well, other than the obvious, just Rem.
What about Leamington?
Leamington?
Leamington.
Your cousin?
Yeah.
Leamington Steel.
Leamington.
That'll be your evil twin from another dimension who has a big curly mustache and is just a really evil version of you. And he rolls sixes constantly. Okay, next category. Glow effect. Now, surely you can think of a song to do with having a nice bright glow or something to do with light. There must have been endless songs recorded about that kind of thing.
Okay, the songs are going to get worse and worse. I'm telling you now, all right? I'm just going to do...
That is a ringing endorsement for your future career prospects, isn't it?
They talk about careers. They don't exist anymore. Especially since public sector has been frozen for the last 7 years. Okay. You know me,
I just go with the flow, you know me. I like a warm, sacred glow, you know me. I like the Andy and Remington show. That's a hit.
Okay, then. Well, let's see who was the runner-up in the warm glow category. Bum, 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 bum. It was Adam. And look at this glowage. Look at that.
Well, it's glowing so much, the glow's turned to, I don't know, it's turned to a flow of liquid that's all over him.
Yeah, it kind of looks like he's just taken a big bite out of a big green piece of fruit, doesn't it? And it's kind of splattered.
It's like a nuclear apple. It's like nuclear waste has gone all over him. But he likes it.
The Nuclear Apples, is that going to be your next band?
Nuclear apples, yeah. But like not nuclear, but like the new clear, like NU, clear apples, nuclear.
Right, there you go.
I don't know.
Now, this is just very, very impressive. I would be terrified to even attempt this because I would be scared of ruining the paint job that I'd done on the rest of the model. So it must take a lot of practice and a lot of guts to do any kind of glow effect, but particularly one that's as bold as this one.
And
I imagine
the big model that.
after you've painted the whole model and then you paint this giant glowing ball in his hand, when you want to apply the glow effect to the rest of it, you must have to just not think about it too much as you start applying it, because otherwise you'd drive yourself nuts, wouldn't you? Think, oh God, what am I doing? When you put down that first coat of green on the parts of the model that you've already painted, it must be absolutely terrifying because you don't know if it's going to look good until the end.
No.
And you don't know if you've just ruined the entire paint job. So it must take a lot of practice. Okay, now the winner of this category. Here we go. It is Sam Jones.
Wow.
Now this one, I'm going to zoom in here because I think this one possibly got more votes because this one, what it lacks in just the crazy over-the-top colour that the previous one had, this one makes up for with subtlety, I think. Because you can just see it's a very, very believable glow, isn't it? On the very edges of everything, you can just about see that blue and white just seeping onto everything as a glow would. So it's a high level of realism from the glow here, I think. And that's probably what wins the day.
Yeah, it's just so clean and sharp, eye-catching. You know, you could stick that on your car, couldn't you? And it'd be just like driving a Chrysler or a Mustang.
Yes. I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that, but let's go with that. You could stick it on your car. That's quite a compliment. So obviously the whole model in itself is nice, with the little stars and such, but it definitely has a very warm, subtle, but definitely present glow. So well done to Mr. Sam for winning that category. Are we ready for the final category?
Yep. What is
Okay,
it?
So well, I'll tell you what it is. You can think of a song. The final category is going to be Best Hat. So while you're thinking about a song about hats, let's just go through the previous winners to see who's in with a chance of winning the grand Golden Weasel trophy. So our winners so far have been Skeleton Flower, Age of Padsmar, Mickey Junver, Dino, and Sam Jones. So if any of those previous winners win this final category, they will be the Grand Golden Weasel Champion 2017.
Andy's been scrolling through the Warhammer chat. He's been looking for any kind of endorsement. He's been looking for a black cat or a vampire bat. But all he found was the Witchfinder General's hat.
I was hoping you were going to try to rhyme something with endorsement then. But you strayed away from that. I'm going to say that you ducked that.
That was quality song, that was.
Okay, so the runner-up for greatest hat category. Bum, 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 bum. This is from Lee. And let's zoom in on it so you can actually see the hat part of this, because we are just judging the hat, and the feathers, very, very nice. And he's even got the little icon there. You know, that familiar... What exactly is that? It appears on the back of one of the war machines, doesn't it?
It's...
With the hammer.
Yeah, it's a griffin. Well, it's a griffin on their war altar.
Yes, mounted on his head.
And why not?
Why not, indeed. Very nice feather work.
That looks like a heavy piece of like clothing, man.
Yeah, you would definitely need to be careful. Flying around, I don't see how that would stay on your head.
You'd have to have a lot of strappage on, wouldn't you?
You would need a lot of strappage, and there's quite a lot of feathery danglage going on as well here, which I'm not sure would be the most comfortable.
He looks a bit like burlesque, doesn't he? Like, doesn't so much look like a warrior. He looks like a bit more of like a show-off, really. He's just trying to like prance about the battlefield, going, "Look at me," and then
look at my glorious feathers. And why not? While all the riffraff are down there fighting on the battlefield, he's just swooping overhead, showing off his wonderful plumage.
Well, why not? I'll tell you why not. Because everyone's going to try and shoot him. He's like a giant target.
Well, shall we see who is the winner of the hat category and potentially the Golden Weasel champion of this year? Here we go. Can we have a small drum roll?
Hey!
Ba-ba-ba-bum! It is Skeleton Flower, who not only claims the best hat category, but also the Golden Weasel championship.
That is a small but perfectly formed hat.
That is quite a magnificent hat. How many brush strokes do you think went into that hat?
Countless strokes there. I mean, look at the cat on the end of the stick as well. The cat's head.
Yeah, if we had a best cat's head category, then that would just be winning as well, I'm sure.
Yeah,
but it may even come up in a best eyeball category, should that emerge next year.
Oh, yeah.
But as for this year, it's all about the hat, and that is a truly magnificent hat. A lot more effort has gone into that than any other hat I can think of that I've ever seen painted on a miniature.
It looks like a magical hat, that's for sure.
It certainly does. The only way I could see someone topping this is if they put in an equal amount of effort onto a model like, let's say, who's got a really big hat? Nagash. You spend hours and hours painting, months and months, maybe, painting Nagash's hat. Maybe you could beat this hat. But
hats off to Skeleton Flower for winning.
Indeed. Skeleton Flower is the Golden Weasel champion, which means that he'll be receiving the trophy in addition to any other prizes as a result of winning 2 categories. So, very, very well done. Dethroned Mickey Genver.
And
So,
Andy will be sending a prize or 2 all the way to Germany, first class, signed delivery.
I could even send it to the country that he's in.
Where's he in?
Not Germany.
You know, where are you from, Skelly?
He's Swedish.
Swedish, even better, even further away.
Yes, I'll leave it lingering on.
Apparently, Sweden is where the happiest people in the world live. Or was it Norway? Let's go with Sweden. How about that?
Okay, then. I think that's fair enough. So I can definitely tell you who the happiest person in the world is going to be. I don't think he was actually able to watch this show live, Mr. Skeleton Flower. He said he would have to watch it later. But he's definitely going to up that happiness level within his country, I would say. So they may have to redo that happiness survey after these results are known worldwide. Okay. Let's see. Some people are saying that Denmark is actually the happiest country in the world.
Yeah, what would I do without the people in the chat? I don't know.
Dinosaur with Trainers, which is an amazing name, says, does anyone know what range that model is from? I do not. But when Mr. Skeleton Flower sees this, I'm sure he will post in the permanent comments the range that that model is from. And then you'll be able to come back and read this later on. So we've got quite a lot of new names in the chat tonight.
That's great.
I don't think we've seen Big Papa Limey before.
Big Papa Limey.
Have we seen Big Mech Dank Skull or Dan Skull, not Dank Skull?
But welcome, man. Welcome. Yes, Finland is the saddest country statistically where most suicides take place. North of the thingy where it's dark all day and night.
Well, you've really brought us down there, Mr. Remington. We go from the joyous occasion of the Golden Weasel Awards and you start talking about international suicide rates. I don't think we really need to dwell on that, do we?
So happy 4th of July. We haven't mentioned, well, we've probably mentioned that, but I mean, the Americans are celebrating their version, the first and original version of Brexit, which has proven very successful for them. Will it prove successful for us?
Time will tell. But I think we have a sneaking suspicion what the answer will be. Okay, let's see. Any other interesting comments popping up before we look at some of the... Well, we've got more painted miniatures to look at because, of course, over the last 2 weeks, people have been posting in the Facebook group the new stuff that they've been painting. Let's see. Adam J. Smith says, that was my first ever attempt at an OSL effect. I wanted it over the top. I love the nuclear apple, and next year I'll step up my game. Considering that is his first attempt at any kind of glow effect, that nuclear apple, to win the runner-up spot in the Golden Weasel Awards is quite a start, and you're going to find it difficult to keep travelling up at that particular level, I'm afraid. You might have to rein in your expectations a little bit because you've set yourself a pretty lofty bar to begin with there. But very impressive.
I'd like to announce something because we're only 9 shows away from our 100th show, and we should make that into a special occasion. Don't you agree, Andy? So I'm thinking if anyone wants to write in the chat or in the comments below what you'd like to see in that show, perhaps Andy not wearing orange. Or
there've been a couple of episodes where I haven't worn orange.
No, okay. It was a special guest or two, or anything, any best of things you want us to show?
I think we'll definitely have to have multiple special guests on the 100th episode. Definitely. Okay. Are we ready to look at some of the painted miniatures from around the community?
Go on then. The sands of time are running low.
Here we go. While the sands of time are still in that hourglass of blood, let's see. So we've got, of course, from Natasha, one more to the collection of quite magnificent Seraphon.
That's superb. That is. Never seen him on foot. I've only ever seen that one on board a Carnosaur. It's great, that.
And the basing's always very, very nice on her army as well, isn't it? Excellent grass here. Anything else on that one, Mr. Rim?
No.
And I've just noticed actually that this model has also been struck by the phantom invisible hair. Look, there's one on the just at the point that connects the blade to the handle there. And there's also on one of the horns a tiny little hair that's stuck to it as well. So I'm thinking after taking pictures, everyone just kind of goes, just tries to blow away all those little stray danglers, shall we call them, that stick to the models. Okay, the next one. This is from Matt, and this is, of course, Iron Drakes with a highly illegal number of Trollhammer torpedoes in there, even though they're not really called that anymore. But look at that.
Yeah, wicked day.
Very, very tasty. Nice photography set up here as well on a very nice bit of terrain. So I wonder where this picture was actually taken. Looks like it must have been maybe in a Games Workshop store of some kind. But very, very nice Iron Drakes there. And I think we have another picture from him as well. Yep, here we go. More fantastic dispossessed Dwardin on a similar piece of terrain.
Brilliant. The guy at the front, the baldy at the front, he just looks particularly like angry, doesn't he? It's a great paint job, that.
He does. And look at the text in the book. I wonder if that was done with the Remington's patented paint pen. What do you think?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't bear the specific trademarks of the Remington pen. It looks like that's been done with a brush, because if it's done with a paint pen, you'd actually be able to pick out the individual words.
So maybe it's a kind of an inferior prototype or an attempted copy of the Remington paint pen. Yeah,
and possibly it's no fault of the painters whatsoever. It's just that the technology wasn't available to him then. Yeah. But the diorama is brilliant. I want to start doing that with my pictures, making like diorama rather than just put them on my windowsill and taking pictures of them. So yeah, they're amazing. We've had a lot of the chat's been going crazy, by the way, saying they want to bring back the Forest of Rem.
Yes, we weren't sure whether we were going to actually commence with the second season of the Forest of Rem, or whether we were going to switch things up a bit and have Rem be kind of the overlord of another game.
What game was that, Andy?
Potentially Witch Coven.
Witch Coven?
Witch Coven, yes.
Witch Coven?
Yes, that one.
Coven of Witches. I'm going to say like between the two, yeah. But we could do Witch Coven, if you like.
I'm sure that the main story hook for that would just be the pronunciation of the actual game itself. And look at this disgusting beast. This is from Josh, and look at that. It just looks like hideous saliva all over the place. It looks like something that would be living on Jabba the Hutt, doesn't it?
That's really cool, that is. Really cool.
Truly grotesque with wonderful, dribbly saliva effects all over the place. Very horrible and slippery indeed. Next.
Nurgle's great, isn't he? He's just like really happy in himself. He's like a really contented god.
Yeah, Nurgle is probably the happiest of the Chaos Gods, isn't he? And rightly so. If you can embrace what you are and don't judge yourself too harshly on your appearance and your ailments, then surely that is the route to happiness, isn't it?
Yeah, well, ABC once wrote a song. It went, never judge a book by the cover, never judge the look by the lover.
I think we can all learn something from those words. Next. This is from our Golden Weasel champion, Mr. Skeleton Flower. And, I mean, look at this. This is just ridiculous.
It's majestic, isn't it, that?
And I definitely recognise that gravestone, because I've got one of those, and I didn't paint it anywhere near as well as that. Mine was just done with a lot of dry brushing, I think. A nice bit of swirly ghost there.
I almost want to take the creature's hand myself and see where she's going.
I'm sure you're no stranger to taking a strange creature's hand now and then. But look at all this. Again, 1 billion brush strokes per square millimeter, I would say. No wonder it takes him so long to paint everything.
I bet his brushes don't fork like mine do every 2 minutes.
I don't know. I wonder how many brushes he has to go through to paint something like this. Next. We've got some more Dwarden. These are from Lee. And they're clearly sitting inside a book. There we go. Some lovely iron breakers there. With a book as well. What do you think about that one? Do you think that one was free-handed with the Remington paint pen, or do you think that's also an inferior product?
I think it's, you know, it's very, very commendable and worthy of being in this, you know, in this catwalk of models, so to speak, but it's not quite in the level of the Remington paint pen.
You think all these people out there that are just scrolling all this text into these miniature books could take their game to the next level by investing in your new startup business, Remington's Painting Accessories?
Absolutely. I mean, if GW are watching, all you got to do is contact me. You know where to find me. I'm on the tip of everyone's tongues in the community, literally. And, you know, I'll guide you to my palace of knowledge where you could make millions from my ideas.
Or you could just steal it and not contact him at all.
This is until I just decide to do it all myself properly, and then you'll regret it.
Well, the recipe for the Remington paint pen and the precise specifications are a closely guarded secret. People, they've got the gist of it, but they don't know what goes into the inner workings to allow you to paint and to carry the paint into such a tiny space. It's a patented technique that people have been struggling to replicate, as you can see.
Great stuff.
Next, this is from Lee as well.
Wow. Oh, look at them dogs. They're just running around, having a lovely time there, aren't they?
Yeah, I think he needs to get a better camera, though, or better lighting, because I suspect that there's even greater detail that we're not seeing on these models.
I'd trim off the sides of the pictures as well, so you could just, you know what I mean? You wouldn't see the edges.
Very, very nice, though.
Beautiful, man.
Now, these are from Andrew. And look at this chaosy goodness.
That's cool, man. I like them. I like that bluish guy in the middle.
Now, he's well known for his very, very fast painting techniques. So I'm going to assume all of these guys were painted in a relatively short space of time, which makes them even more impressive. Because they look like the product of hours and hours and hours of work, don't they? But I have a sneaking suspicion he's actually done these very, very quickly. So if you can paint to a high standard in a very rapid fashion, that is definitely a skill to be envied. Next, we've got more chaos. These are from Russ. And how do you feel about basing that spills over the edge like that?
Yeah, it's cool, man. That's a force, isn't it?
It would drive some people nuts. There are some perfectionists out there that don't like this outer rim of the base to be touched by anything. And then some people just completely decorate the whole thing.
I think it's cool on the miniatures that are on the outside of the formation. That works. You know what I mean? But this looks like a never-ending tide of blood reavers, man.
It is a never-ending tide. There are loads of other pictures on the Facebook group as well. In fact, I think we've got one other here.
I'd like to shoot my squid gobber right in the middle of them.
Don't worry, folks. That's not a euphemism. He does actually have a squid gobber miniature. So what do you think of these two? Look at all that wonderful red and gold and skulls everywhere. You can't get more corn-like than that.
No.
And the final picture of the week. This is from Sam. And look at that.
That's clean, man.
That is clean. That's how you could describe all of his paintwork, isn't it?
I wouldn't let that animal into my house, though, before it washed its feet.
Yeah, those are some dirty feet. We've seen some of his Griffhounds as well that have that similar dirty-footed look to them.
It's absolutely filthy, that, really, to be honest. I wouldn't allow anyone... In fact, I make people take their shoes off when they come to my house, because for that very reason. You know what I mean?
What about if they just run around in bare feet like this animal? Would you actually give them shoes at the door and tell them to wear them into the house?
Well, in the Middle East, there's a custom of washing a guest's feet when they walk in. It's a sign of humility and respect. So I would do that for this miniature because it's so wonderfully painted.
Okay, so people shouldn't just invite themselves to your abode and expect to have their feet washed then? Only if they're magnificently painted, is what you're saying?
I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I'm so tired, man.
Okay, I think people get the idea. If you travel to Remington's abode and you are well painted, then he may well douse your feet with cleansing fluids. Okay, and with that, that is our entire selection of painted miniatures that were posted in the Andy and Rem Show Facebook group, which you should be a member of right now. And if you're not, you should be over there joining up this very second, in fact. I'm going to look on Facebook now and see if there are any pending join requests to the group.
We've had a few more people come into the Andy and Rem Show group, haven't we? It's gone up a little bit.
It has. We've had a little bit of a surge in recent weeks.
Surge. This is cool, really, but it's not quite the end of the show, is it, Andy? Because you still have to sing, because you're doing the outro tonight. It's your turn, and you've heard enough of my dulcet tones. It's time to hear the true voice of this show, which gets unleashed once a month.
Yes, my voice, I have been known to reach certain notes that Remington is afraid to attempt. I've got more, let's say, more vocal bravery than Mr. Remington, who likes to play it safe.
Exactly. I'm holding a glass because I don't want it to get shattered.
Surely not. Okay, folks, if you would like to suggest any song lyrics relating to Golden Weasels, perhaps, then drop them in there, and then I will, on the spot, improvise a magnificent Golden Weasel-related song in a moment. So before I do that, don't forget to check out all the links in the description. For example, Mr. Remington's channel, which is updated with new content regularly. And by regularly, I mean you can set your watch by it, and you'll get a new video about once a year. Don't forget to check out all the other links as well, the Facebook groups, social media shenanigans, and all that goodness. And with that, I think it's time to screen share our beautifully photoshopped image for this week. And then I will think about breaking into song.
Don't forget, guys, we love you. Well, I love you. Andy, I don't know, Andy tolerates you and definitely tolerates me, just. And take care. Until next time.
Oh, we've had an excellent suggestion for a song here. Green Stuff Games says Golden Weasels with Golden Measles. So I think that's going to be the theme of the song. I'm not sure whether I'm going to use that exact line. I may open with that line and then go from there.
Don't think. Do it.
Golden weasels with golden weasels, not the easiest to capture upon artists' easels. Golden weasels glistening in the sun, they look so lovely and having so much fun as they prance through the meadow, feasting on cheese. From the clouds emerges a bearded man, they drop to their knees. He bellows forth, my golden weasel children, the favourites of mine. I love you even more than my pack of silver swine, my precious golden weasels, handed out with glee to winners of painting contests who paint majestically.